We're going to use StatKey to construct a sampling distribution for a proportion. The default data set is the college graduates data set. There's an example in your textbook that uses this data set. So I'm going to select a different data set so that you can get a different example. I'll use the rock and roll female data set. Of all of the individuals that have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, 15% have been female. So our population proportion is 0.150. Let's choose a sample size of n equals 30. I can generate one simple random sample from this population. My first simple random sample of 30, they were 5 females for a sample proportion of 0.167. I can switch over to the confidence intervals tab. This is my first sample proportion. This sample was used to construct a 95% confidence interval, and we can see that this confidence interval does contain the population proportion of 0.15. I'm going to take another simple random sample of n equals 30. This time, the sample proportion was 0.133. Again, we can see that the confidence interval that was constructed using this sample contains the population proportion of 0.15. To speed things up, I'm going to generate a few hundred samples, and every sample that I generate, the confidence interval, the 95% confidence interval that was computed on the basis of that sample is shown here in the confidence intervals tab. So here I have a total of 202 simple random samples from a population whose population proportion is 0.15. In our dot plot, we have our distribution of sample proportions. This is the same distribution that you learned how to make last week. And in the confidence interval tab, we have 202 95% confidence intervals. Each was computed on the basis of one of these sample proportions. So out of my 202 95% confidence intervals, 3 of them, the 3 that are red, do not contain the population proportion. The green confidence intervals do contain the population proportion. Now in real life, we don't know whether or not our confidence interval contains the population parameter. This simulation is just showing you that if you do a 95% confidence interval, if we generate enough samples, we should find that approximately 95% of our confidence intervals contain the population parameter.